Hi there, I'm Martha Van Dam, and welcome back to Living Beyond. Today is day 5 in our series when we're talking about the foundations or the ingredients, the things that we can put into our relationships, things that we can do to help make those relationships living and vibrant, not just hanging on, but vibrant and solidly alive. And so our last topic today is I want to take the idea of love. And we gladly think about wanting to say to one another or wanting to hear from our person, I love you, I love you. But what does that actually mean? I'm going to suggest to you that very often when we think, I love you, we're thinking about some sort of feeling, a way that I feel towards you, or the way that I feel toward my person, or he feels toward me. But another piece of I love you, if we think about it, love is actually a verb. Love is something we do. It is something we express. And if we say that we have to wait on the feeling before we do something about it, then we have the cart before the horse. Because what happens in long-term relationships is we show that love. We do things, we express things, we find some ways to actually make that love active. We love verb. The verb is active, and we love with this action, and out of that comes all manner of feelings. We don't want to wait until we don't want the feeling to come before then we try to act on it. So, how do we act with love? How do our actions express love that then we feel? And to answer this question, I'm going to lean into an old reliable book. Many of you are aware of the book by Gary Chapman called The Five Love Languages, or The Five Languages of Love Languages. I don't remember exactly. But his whole premise is that we all have certain ways that we feel loved, and those ways may be different from one person to the next. And according to Gary Chapman, there are 5 specific types of language that we express and receive love. So listen, and you may already know, but listen and see which of these speaks the most to you. So one love language is the language of gifts, and that's the person who just loves giving things to people, bringing little trinkets or doing nice extravagant things, but they love giving gifts. That person also very often likes to receive gifts. When someone gives them a gift, no matter how large or small, it feels very loving to them. Number 2 is acts of service. This is the person that they want to express their love by helping, by doing things. So if someone is sick, and the way they want to express their love is they want to make a meal, and they want to bring it over, and they want to come to the house, and they want to clean a room, or they want to babysit your children. They want to do something. It's an act of service, and that feels very loving to them. Also, there are people who feel very loved when someone is doing those things for them. And so the wife who is at home with children a lot during the day, if her husband comes home and he picks up the toys as he walks in, or he washes some dishes before they go in to fix supper together or something, that can feel very loving to that same person whose main love language is acts of service. Next one is quality time. Some people feel so connected and so loved when they are giving or receiving good, solid quality time with their person. And we talked about that a few times ago. I think the very first one, we talked about how that time together for quality time, it's not just sitting in the same room. It's being together somehow, some way, sharing yourselves with each other, sharing the experience together and connecting on a deep emotional level. So that's quality time. The fourth type of love or love language is people who really thrive on hearing what we call words of affirmation. Those words that say, I saw you did. Oh, that was so great. You really showed up, and you really did your best. I really appreciate how hard you're working. Those are words of affirmation. A little interesting thing about someone whose primary love language is words of affirmation, that person is also hurt more badly by stinging words. So the very thing that feels the best, when taken away or when given the opposite, the harsh words, that's an even bigger stinging place for that person. And the last one is affectionate touch, whether that be sexual or just affectionate, non-sexual touch, but the sense of touch feels very loving to them. And most people will have more than one. It's not, or at least it's not uncommon for people to have more than one that really means a lot to them. Someone may really appreciate affectionate touch and kind words of affirmation. Either one of those can maybe, so you can have combinations or just one. The way this plays out and the way that it means something to us is that we want to learn two things. We want to learn what is my love language. How is it that I feel the most loved? Because we can't share that with our person until we understand it. So we want to be able to say to our person, it means so much to me. Well, words of affirmation would be one of mine for sure. And so I want to be able to say to my husband, it means the world to me when you say kind things to me. If you see me doing something and you think that I'm working hard or it's something that you have value in, if you will say that, it will just mean the world to me. That means more to me than bringing me a gift. Those words mean a lot to me. So I would want to say that to him, because how is he going to know if I don't tell him? How is your person going to know if you don't tell them? And how are you going to tell them if you don't know? So you want to figure out what is my primary, or what one or more than one love language, so that you can know and you can share with them. The next thing is you're going to want to know what is your partner's primary or a couple of primary love languages. What is the way he or she feel the most loved? Because if they are speaking one language, for example, if you speak English and your spouse speaks French, it'd be real silly to go around all day long saying, I love you. It really is in your best interest to love je t'aime. To learn je t'aime and be able to say, I love you in his language. So it may not be your natural language. It may not be your go-to. For example, if my love language is words of affirmation and my husband's is physical touch, I can tell him all day long how wonderful he is and what wonderful things I see in him. But if I'm not reaching out and touching him, then he's not going to feel love in the same way. So it is imperative that I learn what's the language that he understands the best, and that I learn to speak it just a little bit. And then there's another piece of this, and that is, we don't make demands that our person love our language. Learn our language. We hope that they will. And it is beneficial if they will. But it is a thing that we can do, because remember, we always want to go back to where's the place that I have power? I have power in what I can control and what I can do. So our person may not know our language very well, or they may not be interested in learning, or they may not put the time in, whatever, but we can still learn to watch for how they are saying it in their own language. So if we're learning their language, so if my husband's language is physical touch and mine is words of affirmation, and if he is not affirming me with those kind words very often, so he's not speaking my language, but every time he walks past me, he's rubbing my arm, or he's putting his hand on my neck, or he sits close to me and puts his leg up against me. If I can learn that, oh, that's he's telling me he loves me in his own language. If I can learn to receive that as love, then we are hitting this from so many angles. I'm learning his language. Hopefully he's learning my language. I'm learning to ask for what is good for me or beneficial to me, but I'm also learning to accept if he gives it to me in a different way. You see how it just expands our ability to love and to feel loved. Remember that also at the beginning of this, I said that love is a verb. So it's that giving and doing, and it's our person giving and doing, and us learning to receive their giving the way they mean it. And so this particular little piece can be exceptionally beneficial in our sense of being able to grow that idea of feeling close because we're speaking one another's language. And this does not just apply to your romantic interest. There is great value in you spending some time thinking about, what is each one of my children's love language? What is it that makes them feel loved, wanted, accepted, cared for? What is it? Because what if you've been using words of affirmation? Because honestly, we've all been taught to tell our kids things that we're proud of them, we love them, they're doing a great job. We've been taught that. What if you've been doing that over and over and over? But the thing that makes them feel the most loved is if you touch them, if you give them a squeeze when they walk by, if you tussle their hair before they walk out the door, if you just lean over and kiss them on the cheek before they go to bed. What if that's what makes them feel loved, and you're spending tons and tons of time trying to say all the right things, and it's not going in the way that you mean it? You see the value in this? This even can be translated into other relationships that don't have to be intimate relationships. If we understand that a coworker, maybe, if you want to get along better with a coworker and you want that coworker to feel safe around you, then learning what are the things that coworker experiences that feel to them like respect, like appreciation. Now, you don't need to go around touching your coworkers. I would not suggest that. But it may be that learning to say kinder things to them or appreciative things to them, it will be meaningful to them. It may be that if their love language is gifts of service, then walking by, and I don't know if there's a piece of an empty cup on their desk, walking by and saying, are you done with this? I'll take care of it for you. And something simple like that can feel like you are on their team. You've got their back because it's their language. So there's an awful lot of value in learning one another's language. And I still go back, I kind of hinted at a minute ago, but I still go back. If you happen to marry someone or to be in a close relationship with someone who doesn't speak your verbal language, then you definitely would spend a little time trying to learn at least some of theirs. And you would spend a little time teaching them some of yours. So apply that to your romantic relationship, the one that you're thinking of trying to grow. Apply that to other relationships in your life and see how that helps. Add it to all the other things we've talked about. We've talked about quality time together. We've talked about learning to develop some more empathy, looking below the surface. I see what you're doing, but what is this saying? What's really going on? We've learned about sharing those things with one another. Add this all together along with your love language. And I'd love for you to contact me and let me know what your experience is, what has been helpful, and maybe some new ideas that you've had. I'm looking forward to hearing from you, and I'm already believing that this is going to make a difference for you. Thanks, and have a fabulous day. Bye-bye.